I have a confession to make, and that is I have been lying to you this entire time that I've been running this channel, and it's time for me to be very honest with you. I see it in the comments, especially as a realtor. It can be very hard to be honest and tell people the truth. So from now on, I'm not going to lie to you anymore. I'm going to tell you the truth and be honest. I'm not actually bald, and I don't live in the prairies. So this channel is being renamed to accurately reflect who I truly am and where I'm from. So you've probably already seen the branding. If you haven't, there's a new logo up. This channel is now going to be called Hairy Mountain Real Estate. This logo will be disappearing, and you'll never hear of the Bald Prairie Real Estate name again. But of course, the terrible jokes will still remain. What do you call someone who always hides in the bathroom at a party? Party pooper. Let's get into this week's real estate news. This first article is out of the Financial Post, talking about how housing starts have trended back up. They had recorded about 240,000 starts. This is CMHC's numbers. And the reason I want to talk about this is because last month I talked how it was 212,000 homes had been started. And a viewer had actually commented thinking that that was 212,000 homes that started last month and 240,000 homes that had started this month. That's actually not the case. This is looking at the total year. So this is not saying 212,000 homes started construction last month and now another 240,000 homes started construction this month. This is basically looking at what's under construction kind of year over year. Typically in Canada, we're going to see about 225,000 to 250,000 homes are built over the course of an entire year. So just wanted to update you and kind of make that clear because it's kind of confusing the way it gets reported. Next up, let's talk about mortgage interest rates because we're seeing fixed rates continue to trend down. You can find 5-year fixed at around 4.5% now. Amazing. Now we're saying, wow, what a great rate. And a year ago, we would have been saying, wow, is that interest rate ever high? Boy, things can sure change in a year. This is partially due to a weaker bond market. And with some of the collapses of the US banks, we're just seeing interest rates trend down and a lot more trepidation in the market. And of course, usually the fixed rates are higher than variable rates. So seeing variable rates still well above 5.5% to 6%, where those fixed rates are at 4.5%. Usually variable rates are about 1% lower than fixed rates more often than not. So at some point, those have to flip, whether it's fixed rates go up or variables go down. But right now, you've got an opportunity to get locked in at a 5-year fixed rate, or you can look at 3-year options and stuff like that. But those rates have been trending down and are significantly cheaper than the variable rates right now. The inflation numbers also came out last week. The expectation was we're going to see inflation at about 5.4%. Again, these numbers are year over year, and it came in at 5.2%. That continuation of that trend down. This is good. Now, it doesn't mean goods are getting cheaper. It just means they're increasing at a slower pace than they were last year. Of course, last year was when we were really starting to see prices ramping up this time of year. So that number is trending down probably faster, partially because of that. I talked about this when I last talked about inflation. If you annualize inflation since about September of last year, and you just take the month over month changes and then annualize it, we are on pace to see inflation year over year in the fall trend very close to that Bank of Canada target rate of 1 to 3%. They like to keep it at about 2%. So if this trend continues, again, nobody has a crystal ball to tell you what's going to happen, but if it does, we're likely going to see that inflation rate right within that Bank of Canada target rate come the fall. That, of course, also means that it's going to give more incentive for the Bank of Canada to hold rates and potentially start dropping them later on in the year if this trend continues. So again, I talked about previously, we're likely going to see either fixed rates go up or variables go down. I'm expecting variables will go down. And if the inflation continues to trend down, that's what will give the Bank of Canada the incentive to start dropping interest rates. Next up, let's talk about population growth in Canada, because according to Stats Canada, about 1 million people moved to Canada, calling Canada home. That is the largest year over year increase in population we've seen in this country in decades. And as I've talked about it in other videos, it doesn't accurately represent the total number of people that did come to Canada because it doesn't count international students, temporary foreign workers, or anybody else that comes here on a temporary basis. So we already saw in the previous articles that about 250,000 homes are built in a year. If you just take the 1 million people that moved to Canada last year, divided up by the average household size of about 2.5 people per house, well, then you're going to need about 400,000 homes just to house the 1 million people that are coming to Canada in just last year. Of course, then you don't account for all the temporary workers and the already existing shortage of homes that we have in Canada that's been well documented. So as you can see, this population growth, while it's great for the economy, it's going to continue to put a lot of stress on our housing market, whether it's for rentals or for people that are looking to buy a house. Now let's talk about a software program called Open Offers. I mentioned this in a September weekly news recap, that this was going to be piloted in select markets in Canada, and it was going to be used on realtor.ca. That pilot program has now been completed, and you're going to see this rolled out across realtor.ca. For those that don't know what Open Offers is, it's a software program out of Australia that will allow people to see how many offers are currently on a house, and they can also display what the total dollar value amount is of those offers, or just which offer is the highest, lowest, etc. They can rank them. Now, this is something that I am excited to see coming to Canada, but in the article, it kind of makes it seem like this is available now. And while technically it has been integrated into the realtor.ca website, it's going to take the different provincial regulators, because real estate is regulated provincially, to actually implement this before you start seeing this widespread across Canada. So the underlying technology has been implemented, but the laws have not been changed in provincial regulation, and we haven't seen this adopted on any real estate board yet in Canada. So when they start rolling out actually officially, I'll be doing more updates on it. On January 1st this year, the federal government officially enacted the foreign buyer ban in Canada. I talked about it a lot in previous videos. Essentially, it banned anybody who wasn't a Canadian citizen or wasn't a permanent resident of Canada from buying residential property for 2 full years. There were a whole host of exemptions, and I've explained them a lot in detail, so I'm not going to get into them here. But less than 3 months into this foreign buyer ban, and the government is walking back a lot of major parts of that foreign buyer ban and putting in a whole host of additional exemptions. So added to the exemption list, temporary foreign workers, they were technically exempt. There was a whole host of criteria they had to meet that really made it impossible for them to actually be exempt. So now they can buy 1 residential property. They changed what was considered a foreign company. So if a company previously had more than 3% foreign ownership, it was considered a foreign company and could not buy residential real estate or land. That has now been increased to 10%. This is, I still think, really low, but it's a good thing that we're seeing them increase it. There are a lot of development companies that have partial ownership, for example, in the United States or other countries abroad. They also made the exemption that vacant land no longer applies to this foreign buyer ban. So now development properties can go and buy land for development purposes, and then they actually specifically excluded the foreign buyer ban from anybody who's actually buying residential property or land for the purposes of development. So a significant change in this foreign buyer ban, and these are all good changes. I'm happy to see that the government is kind of starting to see the light on this and making some good changes. Okay, I don't know how people with hair do this all the time, because I've been brushing this hair out of my face this entire video. Happy April Fools, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the joke. I had a lot of fun. I've been planning this one for months, so give this video a like for me if you can. If you aren't already subscribed to Bald Prairie Real Estate, please hit that subscribe button for me and leave comments in the comment section below. And then, of course, you can check out this video right here. That's what the YouTube algorithm says you need to watch next on Bald Prairie Real Estate. As always, guys, thanks very much for watching.